Torah, Torah Behar, page 80, second column. Okay, we'll start 8 lines from the top of the second column. Okay, now the Rabbi is explaining, you have the planting, and he spoke at great length about that. Then he says you need to grind it, which is again the broken heart. And then you need to take the level of mayim, the kneading part, K-N-E-A-D. The kneading part of uniting all the things together. But then that itself is not enough. In order for it to be bread, you have to bake it. So breaking it means the warmth, enthusiasm that the person has. So he says, that's the whole story with Yosef. And Yosef came into the room and cried there, in the hidden place my soul cries. Meaning, what does it mean in the hidden places? The hidden places of the heart. And then Yosef said, Yosef represents the Jews. Ben Aini refers the affliction of the Jews, and therefore you need to have Rachmanis on the Jews because the neshama fell all the way down to the lowest of levels. And then he says, give bread, which is the level of Torah. You need to have simcha and seriousness at the same time, coexisting. Shamadaika, meaning from the inside of the heart, from the essence of the neshama, has to come out this level of longing. Then, only then when there's enthusiasm of the baking, that again unites it even more than just by the kneading of the dough, it becomes bread. The malka that becomes absorbed in the limbs, meaning in ruchnius, in the limbs of Hashem, burns of mamash. By being absorbed in the nefesh kiss. And that's what he says, meaning, it becomes one. But if you don't bake it, you just have flour and water, and the dough is kneaded, and you have a big piece of dough, and you eat it, you'll probably get sick, by the way. It won't definitely not be bread. It won't be able to become absorbed. Okay, it won't be able to support the nefesh. When the pasuk says, only on bread alone a man lives, it means baked bread. Obviously, not raw bread. If you don't bake the bread, Hashem doesn't bake it for you. Hashem doesn't cook it for you. In other words, when a yid goes up there, you have to have the Torah in your hand, so to speak. And he explained the process is, like he said, planting with the level of bittul and all those the things that he spoke about. And then the grinding, and then the uniting it, and then the warmth of it. All of that is necessary for bread to become bread. In other words, for Hashem's bread, which is Torah, l'chul lachmu b'lachmi, Torah is Hashem's bread, it has to be baked. Meaning, it has to be absorbed within the limbs of Hashem to become bottled to Hashem, become one with Hashem. It has to be baked, meaning there has to be the enthusiasm and the varamkai, the warmth, and all that.
What does it mean by lechem min hashamayim? When they say the concept of lechem min hashamayim.
Lechem min hashamayim was the spiritual bread that the malachim eat. And Moshe Rabbeinu ate in Har Sinai. Even though it says lechem lo'acha means not this bread.
Where is our avodah in that concept?
Our avodah of making the mun is to make it into ruchnius. Making the physical bread into spiritual bread. And he spoke these 4 levels of avodah. If you eat raw, unbaked bread, your base is going to stay in the limbs, it's going to stay in your stomach, it's not going to become absorbed.
This has anything to do with the bread and
The lechem upon him? Yeah, but not in a direct way, what he's speaking about here. Yeah, there was also 12 levels of bread, of Hashem's bread. Now, without the baking, so then what happens? The Torah stays in your stomach, but it doesn't become absorbed. It doesn't become one with you. You get sick, it stays in your stomach.
The enthusiasm is only for baking, not in planting, or...
No, enthusiasm is only when you have warmth. If you think about it, the dough is dough. No, it's the same dough. The texture of the ingredients of the dough is the same if you bake it or not. Baking doesn't add any ingredients. Baking just takes that dough and makes it absorption. It makes it absorb. How is that? Through warmth. You want Torah to become absorbed. You want Torah to become one with you. It has to be absorbed in you. If it's not, it's two separate entities. Like he says, then Torah is b'fnei atzmei v'nafshi b'fnei atzmei, and it's not misyachdim yachad. It doesn't become united. It's not called Talmud B'yadei. In other words, the whole avodah of the Jew. That's why. What's the difference if you do Torah mitzvahs? Like the previous Rebbe in the Zechrenis talks about the old. I mean, the time of the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Shem, the great scholars. But there was all cold, completely icicles. It was ice cold learning. There was no love for mitzvahs. There was all intellectual. And the Baal Shem came into the world and started saying, you need warmth. And if not, and therefore he says, the simple Jews that don't know a lot, but they have such enthusiasm and excitement in it, so they internalize it. They are on a higher level than these guys that's very cold. They're very cold. They used to make fun when a kid would kiss a mezuzah. They say, why are you kissing animal skin? They would laugh at any observance of mitzvahs. There has to be chayis in the mitzvah. And that's where Chassidus comes into the picture. Chayis is the neshama of Torah, the warmth of Torah. It's not the separate Torah. It takes that Torah and makes it alive. Living Torah, it makes it alive. How do you make it alive? By heating it up, then it becomes bread, and then it becomes absorbed.
The moral of the story is to say l'chaim.
That's why Chassidim say l'chaim. Because you internalize warmth. Like the story of Shmuel Munkus, he was traveling to the Alter Rebbe, and it was freezing, and he was walking, and he got a ride in the back of a wagon that was carrying barrels and barrels of liquor. And he realized I could be right next to it, but it doesn't warm you up. You internalize it, it warms you up, right? You make a l'chaim, it warms you up. And he said that's what he told Alter Rebbe. Alter Rebbe, how was your trip? He said, I learned a remarkable lesson. You could be all surrounded by Torah, and if you don't internalize it, you remain cold. And you internalize even a little bit, then you're warm. Okay, let's finish this up. Dalit. Okay, them shel yomed, but before you learn the Torah, tzarach gam kim balakan. You have to come here. The Ashmi mi shebalakan, fortunate is the one that comes here. What does it mean coming here? He says, so av a bit tefillah b'mesiras nefesh. They awaken the love and davening mesiras nefesh. U'bitul b'metzias elav yizbarach, and complete bitul. Now, in order to internalize Torah, you must have bittul. Because again, if it's all about me, then there's no bittul to absorb it. Therefore, the proper time of davening, of learning is right miyad achar tefillah. And therefore, then you have the level of ashrei. You skip the 6 lines, and then then you can awaken the ava of davening in a level like it says. So this is what it says like this. The Alter Rebbe now is going back to the connection with the original pasuk. The Alter Rebbe started the Maimer in for 2 lines. Ki savaya la'aretz, when you come to the land which I am giving you. Yeah? So we know Gan Eden is called Eretz. Like it says, Leilam Yushu Aretz is Gan Eden. So, but it has to be Ki savaya la'aretz. You have to come there. Meaning, and then it says, Asher ani noisin lachem. Ki av amitis ibal momayl. The real av of a person is a gift from above. Because again, if Hashem doesn't awaken within us this level of ava, if it's not Vayikrel Moshe, then you can't have Adam Ki Yakriv. You can't come closer to Hashem if you don't have the introduction Vayikrel Moshe. Al Tzarech Esed, it is Adam. But you need the awakening of the person. Like we learned many, many times. The way it works is like this. Hashem wakes us up, gives us a push from above. You like a lighter, there's a spark from above. You need to awaken yourself. You have to give fuel. Then, when you make the fire, then you bring down the awakening from above. So it's 3 stages. There's an awakening from above, a very, very brief awakening from above, a push from above, and that allows us to wake up and do what the Aveda that we said before, grinding, kneading, and all that. And then you'll get the awakening from above, Asher ani neisin lachem, and then the shav sa'aretz. What does it mean? The earth rests. Like it says, Sniyus v'aris batalas. Then you have the land. Is bottle, Hainishir b'chinas bitol, keiches hanefesh b'metzias, in the level of achesi. In other words, like this. Ki savaya ha'aretz asher ani neisin lachem, the shav sa'aretz Shabbos Hashem. He says that's the level of achesi. Like you said before, weaving it, making it into one. That is the natural instinct of love. Ki savaya ha'aretz asher ani neisin lachem. Hashem says, I am giving you this awakening from above. Then you need v'shav sa'aretz Shabbos Hashem. You need to make it rest. Meaning you need to reveal this level of the Sirusa de Lasata. And then it becomes Shabbos Hashem. Bittel acher bittel, bittel after bittel. One level, another level, because there's end, because Hashem is so infinite, there's no ending of the bittel. It has to keep going. Hainu betchila shav sa'aretz in the level of Sumeirah. Then Shabbos Hashem in the level of Asay. In other words, like the Yom brings down the Torah, the long Torah of the Baal Shem Tov, that he told the Rebbe Rashab. Baal Shem told the Rebbe Rashab in the vision that Kisave al Oretz, by in Kisave over there, about giving Bikurim. So over there is the same thing. When you come to the land, the Aveda begins from above. But Hashem says, I'm only helping you because you can't do it on your own, because you are a finite being and I'm infinite. So there's no way this is going to work. You finite can never reach infinite. So I'm going to help you from above. I'm going to give you a mitzvah to do. I'm going to give you the power to do the mitzvah. But then you gotta take the bull by the horn. You gotta do something about it. And then you need the level of Shav Sa'aretz. You have to, now he says, resting means not doing. That's Surmeirah, not doing evil. Then you have Shabbos Hashem, then you have Asaytei, bringing more Kedusha into the world. What? The same thing, it's all, you know what? All of Chassidus is all about God and Jews and Minden Shamis and the Aveda. It's just brought out in an infinite amount of different ways. Okay? You want to put Chassidus into one thing, Einaid Mulvade. That's what it's all about. Einaid Mulvade. That's the love of Hashem giving it to you. How do you get to Einaid Mulvade? How do you get to this level? It has to be, but it has to come from above. And then you need to digest it. And then you need to...
What initiates that?
from above.
The push button that, I know, but what makes
Asher ani noisen lachem. The neshama putting into the body that I gave you.
Do I need to ask for it?
1 second. To take even a step further, as Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, that real bechira, you know, there's two levels. There's bani matam l'Hashem Elokeichem, and then you have the v'ata v'chartonu mikol ha'amim, or as we say in davening, bani v'chartonu mikol ha'am v'loshin, right? Bani matam l'Hashem Elokeichem is the neshama. Bani v'chartonu, the Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, is the body. Because you can't say neshama of a Jew versus neshama of a guy. They're different neshamas. Bechira is when they're exactly equal, right? So therefore, there's a level of ashani neis and lachem that refers to the level of the guf. The neshama is coming into the guf, and Hashem is putting the neshama in the guf, and Hashem is giving the neshama the ability to overrule to control the body and create the revealed aspect of the body, which comes from a higher level than the neshama, because this comes from bechira, which is above any possible level, even the level of bani matam l'Hashem Elokeichem, and you live happily ever after. That's the whole chassidus in one line. That's what it's all about. Huh? That's on 1 foot, yeah. What? No, because I remember a word that I said, I promise you. That's the whole chassidus. That's what life is all about.
That's the principle.
Huh?
He wants you to repeat that again.
It's on tape.
Yeah, go look at it later.
Both of us are in days.
Okay, let's go. Shabbat. And then it says, remember the Alter Rebbe has the beginning of the Maimer. First you have 6 years and then you have Shemittah. So he says first, the pasuk says you come to the land, the Shav Sa'ar, the Shabbos Hashem, first you have Shemittah. Then it says 6 years. So the Alter Rebbe asked, that was the 2 lines that he asked, the Cheder is the wrong order. So now the Alter Rebbe is saying like this. There's Kisavei Alaretz, Ashani Neisen Lachem, that's the Gili from above. The Shav Sa'ar, the Shabbos Hashem, you have to have the level of Bittul. That's before you do anything. Then, Shei Shanim Tizra Sadecha. Remember he said planting is one of the things in Torah. Shei Shanim, what's the Cheshbon 6 years? That's the Shisha Sidrei Mishnah. 6 orders of Mishnah. Meaning the whole oral Torah. Tizra Ba'aretz Al Yeinish Shenika Sada Chakal Tapuchen Kadishin, the holy apple orchard. And then it has to be Dvar Hashem. There's Kamashal Azriya now. And then like the level of planting that he spoke about before. And 1 second. Then the pasuk continues. Sheishanim Tizmar. It's Kamecha. Okay? It's remarkable, right? The way this chassidus works. The Alter Rebbe is explaining. The pasuk says 2 things. 6 years plant your fields. Sheishanim Tizmar is Kamecha. Also a form of planting, pruning your vineyard. No. In the same 6 years, you plant your field and prune your vineyard, and then you have Shemittah. Correct? Now, what's the difference between, why does the Torah say both things? You'll plant your field, and then you'll prune your vineyards. What's the difference? The difference is simple. Wheat is necessities, bread. Vineyard is the level of wine, which is luxury. There's Torah as bread, and there's Torah as wine. So Sheishan and Tizra Sadecha refers to the bread, lechem, which refers to the revealed part of Torah. V'Sheishanim Tizmer Karmecha. 1 second. That's the level of Talmud, which is Tami Amishin V'Sivruah. See how far this parentheses go. Yeah. So what does it mean in Aveda? Aveda is a kerim sorach lezama hanoliksis hakeitzim hamachalas hakerim. Tizma, like we said, means prune your vineyard. Prune means getting rid of all the thorns. Getting rid of all the negativity. That's also part of planting and watering and so on. Because if you prune something, if you prune the weeds and everything, what malach is that on Shabbos? There's no malach on Shabbos called tizmar. But pruning is actually the malach of planting, because that's part of planting. How do things grow? You have to prune it. Mishum do smuchi paid of it, because it's for the purpose of the thing growing. Kach wa derech moshe limit atayra, which is bearded halacha, the learning Gemara, which is the learning of halacha. Shemavadet, that explains how the Mishnah. What does Gemara do? Gemara explains how the Mishnah got to its conclusion.
Details.
The details, why the halacha is the way it is. The Gemara always says, how do I know this? Where do we learn it? How do you know this? So that's what Gemara does. So Gemara is actually like the pruning of the wheat, so to speak. And all the questions that fall off after the Gemara answers. Even the initial question of the asker. Therefore, Torah is like in Tiyayin HaMesamacha, it's when you have bitter halacha. So he says like this, relatively speaking, Mishnah is bread, and because Mishnah is a bunch of dry halacha, there's no geschmack with it, there's no enjoyment with it. When you learn the reasons, and then everything starts making sense. Same thing when you learn halacha. It's a bunch of dry stuff. When you learn the reason for it, you learn the way, how the halacha came that way, then it's very interesting. So, and again, even though lechem is revealed Torah, yayin is primus Torah, but even in nigla the Torah, Mishnah is bread, and Gemara is wine, because it explains it. Masha'en can Mishnah nikol lechem, like it says lechem levav enish yisach. Bread fills you. Wine makes you happy. Yayin is samach levav enish. What? Because relatively speaking, compared to Mishnah, Gemara, which gives an understanding and an enjoyment, is wine. Now, generally speaking, revealed Torah is bread, and the hidden Torah is called wine, and Chassidus is called oil. Oil.
That's nutrient. That's physical nourishment.
No, that's the essence.
Separation.
The essence of everything is oil. You take any object and you squeeze it hard enough, you will get oil, because oil is the essence. And that's what Chassidus is, the essence of Torah. And therefore, it makes everything oily, but it remains aloof. It remains above all the other liquids. Okay, let's finish this. Well, if you understand Gemara only with the physical aspects of it, no reasoning. Then it's called Yainem Samach Levavenish. Then it's all in a way that you enjoy it. That is called Yainem Samach Elokim. In other words, even enjoying, you can enjoy the nigla reasons for it, the revealed reasons for it, it's very enjoyable. But then when you get to the secrets of it, it's a completely different level of enjoyment. This is an intellectual enjoyment versus a soul enjoyment. In other words, Gemara Mishnah, which is bread, that is the intellectual understanding, not the intellectual enjoyment. Because this Chai Potter and Mutter also, you understand it in Gemara, so then you get the level of enjoyment. But that's intellectual enjoyment. But then you come to neshama enjoyment. That is the level of Pnimis HaTorah, which is obviously a much deeper level. And that's what it says, Ki Kedem Hashem Tzvokos Beis Yisrael. There's another pasuk that says, the Yidden are Hashem's vineyard. What's the Yidden of vineyard? And every Jew has to work within himself to reveal the vineyard. Now, in order to get the grapes, you got to get rid of all the junk, all the thorns that get in the way and hurt and, destroy. To get rid of the traits of the animal soul, which is kina, sinna, the taiva, the levaratei, and then it becomes Shabbos and Yeh, Shabbos Lashem, which is the 3 times the word Shabbos. The pasuk says V'shavsa Adet Shabbos Lashem, and then it says Shabbos Lashem, and then it says Shnas Shabbos Shabbos and Yeh La'aretz. So there's 3 levels of Shabbos. Remember we said the other day by Mincha Marav explaining, there's 3 levels of Shabbos. Friday night, Shabbos morning, Shabbos afternoon. Right? And the different orders. Chakal Tapuch and Kaddish and Atika. Kaddish is a Rampin, each one is a different one. We said Friday night is Va, Shabbos morning, Shabbos and Musaf and Yenuchu Vai, and Shabbos to Mincha Yenuchu Bam. These are different levels of Shabbos, which correspond with the 3 worlds of Bri, Yitzir, and Asiyah. That you have all the level of Teiv in connecting to Hashem. So bottom line, okay, that's the Maimer. So bottom line of the Maimer is, be good, that we have to create the level of making Hashem food, planting, and the various different levels of how you make bread. And then you come to a higher level to make wine, which is all a different Aveda, Surmerah, Seiteiv. And it has to be Ashimi Shabolakan. It has to be in a way that you do something to bring it down. So it starts from Hashem, and then this gives a push. He pushes. Vayikra Moshe, he calls. Now most people, like teenagers, you call them, they don't come.
They don't understand that.
Right, so yeah, Vayikra Moshe, but you need Adam Ki Yikrav, Ki Yasakri. The person has to come. You have to make the keli. Hashem calls, it's like you call your kids, right? Unless you want to give them money, or sometimes food, they're not home. So you call them, they don't come. That means that's not the Serusa. The Serusa de Leila is supposed to awaken the Serusa de Lasata. So you have Vayikra, Hashem calls us, meaning a gili from above, and then it says Adon Kisakriv. Adon Kisakriv. Yeah, Adam Kiyakriv, if a person will bring come close. Come close. You live happily ever after.
Dr. Kramer, you need my number?